Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. I'm going to introduce the senator in a moment, but I have a few comments I'd like to share before I do that. I have to say I'm grateful that Senator Blumenthal is here to talk about his manufactured housing tenants Bill of Rights. It's important legislation for all of you. It will ensure that you're treated fairly and that you're allowed the affordable housing that you deserve in our community. The senator has always been a good friend to Southington. And I can remember when I served on the town council, every single apple harvest parade, he was there with the councilors and he'd march with us. But not just that, before and during and after, he'd always step aside out of the parade route or take time to meet with residents and listen to their concerns. And I was elected in November to the state legislature, and at that time, I wanted to follow his lead and kind of take on that role. Meet with people, hear them out, hear their concerns, and advocate on their behalf. And one of those residents, Dave Delahary, who we all know, president of the Connecticut Manufactured Homeowners Alliance, was one of those people that reached out to me early on. And we met for coffee at the Southington Coffee House. And I said, Dave, look, you live in Southington, but you're not in my district, but it doesn't matter because this is an important issue and it's good for our town. And I listened to his proposals, his ideas. I tried to understand some of the challenges. And I promised to take that up to Hartford and to advocate as best I could. And when in Hartford, as a moderate, I'm a very proud moderate, I looked for like-minded people who could come to some common ground on some of these issues, and we could work to help out the cause of folks that reside in our manufactured home parks in Southington. And one of the good friends that I met, good members that I met across the aisle was Representative Cooley, standing here to my left. And we met and we talked about what we can do, and we both got behind Senate Bill 988, which, if you're not familiar, in the event that a mobile home park is sold, the residents now have the ability, first refusal to purchase that. And it's a very good first step, okay? Because it's a first step to ownership and controlling how much you spend on where you're living. And it goes hand in hand with the Manufactured Housing Tenants Bill of Rights, because both bills aim to give you opportunity and to protect you. And Senator Blumenthal, along the way, he was here earlier at a previous meeting in the fall, has been steadfast to your cause. And I'm very, very proud and honored to welcome him here to Southington to speak a little bit more about this legislation. Thank you, Senator, for coming. Welcome.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you. Thank you so much, Chris. Thanks to my colleagues, members of local government and state government who are here today. Truly, we're in a partnership. Before I talk about the subject that brings us here today, I just want to say a word about Lowell Weicker. He passed away just a couple of hours ago, I think it is probably now. Lowell Weicker, I think many of us remember him, looking around and seeing some heads nodding. And I was very fortunate to serve with him when he was governor and I was attorney general. Of course, he was a senator before I served. So just talking personally, having known Lowell Weicker and having worked with him, Lowell Weicker was always larger than life, fearless, tireless, relentless in fighting for what he believed right and in serving people. He was a role model in standing up and speaking out for conviction and conscience, even when Others disagreed. And he did immense good for Connecticut and for the country. And he did it his way. So I offer my condolences to all of his family, Claudia, Scott, his son, and others on this occasion. And I know that many of you will join me in expressing those sympathies to his family. As for the Manufactured Housing Bill of Rights, I have been here before, in fact, more than once, to meet with you and hear your stories, your very legitimate complaints. I have met with others around the state of Connecticut and indeed from other areas of the country. And let me just say very emphatically, this mobile home owners' Bill of Rights is long overdue. The world has changed. People who own mobile homes no longer live in places where the owner of the land underlying their home is a local person who responds to local opinion and local interests. More likely than not, it's a hedge fund or a corporation located somewhere distant, another state, with very little caring about the lives of people who live in those mobile homes, and very little compunction about exploiting them. And so I am proposing a Bill of Rights that gives you some remedies when that owner of the land under your homes fails to follow basic common sense and decency. Number one, any raise in rents has to be preceded by at least 30 days' notice. If it is a certain percentage, a large percentage, it's a longer period of notice. Any increase in fees, whether it's for sewer, water, whatever, also would require notice. Any refusal to renew your leases has to be for good cause. And you have a right to 1 year or good cause shown for failure to renew. And of course, if there's going to be any sale of the property, you should receive notice and the opportunity to purchase that land. This Bill of Rights builds on the state legislation, which was a really important first step. I give a ton of credit to the two legislators standing behind me for standing up and speaking out and getting it done in Connecticut. And we're going to build on that first step to provide additional rights, like to purchase property, not just notice, but to purchase that property, in effect, a right of first refusal. And the notice periods have to be longer. The rights to be served in the upkeep of utilities and roads, very important. The Bill of Rights is longer than what I've just described, but you get the idea. And because it's legislation that we're submitting now, we can take your ideas and add them to this legislation. So this is a strong first step, and I am hopeful, let me just say, I am hopeful we will have bipartisan support. I know in this room we have bipartisan support, because there should be nothing partisan about protecting mobile homeowners. You buy your home, you maintain it, you make the community a model, and you should receive support from the owner of that mobile home land, because you are helping them, not just yourself. You're doing the community a service. And for you to be treated, as many of you have been, is a profound disservice, a shameful and disgraceful disservice to the community and to the basic ideals of good business and citizenship. So I thank you for being here today. I'm happy to take questions. I know we may have some questions, and I want to give a shout out not only to the town council, but also to Dave, and maybe most important to all of you. You have been tireless, fierce advocates. I've heard you loud and clear. I couldn't mistake those voices. And I am grateful to all of you for attending the meetings that we had. We'll have more of them, because I will come out, as I have, and listen some more. But I know many of you are justifiably angry. You have a right to be angry. And your anger is part of the reason that we are moving forward with this legislation. I can't promise what will happen to it, but I can promise that I will fight for it. And your voices and faces will help us be successful. Thank you all. So, I don't know whether, would you like to say, anyone else is welcome to make some comments.
I just really want to thank Dave and Chris for the work they did on getting 988 through the House. And I was glad to play my part in it, but it really showed that, you know, coming together, discussing the issue, and coming up to a sensible agreement works. And I just wanted to thank Dave especially for all the hard work he did on it. Thank you, and Chris as well. And thank you, Senator Blumenthal, for being here.
Dave?
Yeah, I just want to remind everybody, and first, thank you for coming out on such short notice. Some of you have heard of what Representative Cooley talks about, SB 988, which is now Public Act 23-125. As of this morning, it was signed by the governor. It's law effective on October 1st. That gives us, going forward, to potentially the right to purchase, the right of first refusal to purchase the park at the same price, terms, and conditions offered to the owner. The way that's related to the mobile home Bill of Rights is important because, Senator, in your letter from last August, there's a clause in here that asks the, was it the FHA? FHA to implement rules or legislative change that would notify residents when there's going to be a park that's purchased with federal financing. Now, that's not part of the law yet, and I assume this is still a work in progress, right? So will there be hearings coming up?
It's the Federal Housing Finance Agency.
Okay, yep.
The FHFA, and it has set out a set of tenant lease protections,
Okay,
right?
yep.
And we are now in the final rulemaking.
Okay, so in your letter it said, service to the manufactured housing market could also be enhanced by earlier disclosure when a community is being purchased by an owner using GSE financing. This could increase the chances for a resident-owned group or nonprofit to work to purchase of the park. I imagine, has that been negotiated out at this point, or is that still possibly
I think that's still.
Okay, that would be great, because that would jive with the law that we just got passed, would make it more significant. Should Sun or RHP, I think there's a few people here from RHP parks around the state. It's another big out-of-state mobile home park owner. If they decide, if we make ourselves a big enough pain in the butt and they want to sell, they would have to offer it to us first. So the other thing I want to remind everybody is everything that we've been doing in Connecticut, and even on the federal government, government works in baby steps. You know, we've had, you know, last year we had a change in the Fair Rent Commission law to lower the threshold to $25,000. Then we had a Fair Rent Commission created here under that law. We had several towns that have adopted it, including Southington, and you know, we now have Pellet Act 23-125. So these things happen. None of the legislation that's passed is perfect. We will continue to work towards, maybe lowering the threshold for fair rent commissions, but we're moving in the right direction, and the senator's support of the Mobile Home Bill of Rights should be applauded. And a lot of you are wondering, when was something going to happen on the federal level? Well, he's here. Something's happening.
Thank you, Dave. I just want to make clear, I don't want to complicate it or be too technical, but the Federal Housing Finance Agency, the FHFA, essentially promulgated some rules which say to the mobile home park owners, you get a discount on the interest that you pay on loans that you take out from this agency if you provide all of those rights. So the question was, and that was in 2016, would anyone take advantage of them? Well, a lot of them have, but the point is, it is not mandatory. That's why I didn't go into this rule, because I don't regard the federal rule as a solution. Just to be really blunt with you, I'd love to be able to tell you the federal government is here to help you and it's solved this problem, but Dave is absolutely right. These are steps along the way, and we need to make sure that the protection is ironclad. And that's the purpose of a Bill of Rights, to give you that security. You deserve to be secure. When you put your head down at the pillow at night, you shouldn't fear that that mobile home land is going to be sold out from under you, that you'll have no opportunity to purchase it as a group. You shouldn't have to fear that rent is going to be increased when you get a notice the next day, or that you can't sublet or sell your mobile home. Right now, a lot of you can't sell your mobile home, even if it's no longer appropriate for you to stay there. Those kinds of straitjacket provisions should not be imposed on you as the mobile home owner. And there are a lot of other provisions here that are important, but David is absolutely right. We need to do more. Yes. First of all, if you're a mobile home owner, you want to sublet your home, you would have a right to do so. If you want to sell your mobile home without having to move it, you should have that right. If there's a need for waste removal or sewer or the kinds of pipes and infrastructure necessary for you to live decently, those kinds of improvements should be made. And as we've just discussed, if the land is going to be sold, then there should be a right of first refusal on the part of the mobile home owners. And if there's any rent increase, there ought to be at least 2 months. If it's less than 5%, if it's more, like for example 10%, it should be a year notice. So the notice ought to be long enough that people can act on it if they can't afford it, and protection against eviction as well. These are basic property rights in the bill. You're asking why should my colleagues in Washington?
Colleagues who are against this support this. How do you convince them?
Justice.
Justice.
Justice, common sense, and the interests of people like the folks in this room. And every state has mobile homes. Every state has mobile home owners. Every state has mobile home owners who are victims of these unjust and exploitive practices. Basic fairness as a matter of conviction and conscience, but put aside the morality, constituents will demand it. They demand justice.
Is there any opposition to this Bill of Rights?
Yeah, there'll be opposition from the hedge funds and the investment companies and the mobile home owners who now are huge conglomerates. It's no longer a mom and pop local owner. It's huge conglomerates, and they will hire lobbyists and lawyers to oppose it. I have no illusion. I'm very clear-eyed will face opposition. And they make campaign contributions. Same answer. You know, the special interests opposing us are powerful, make no mistake, because they invest not only in mobile homes, but they have a lot of other money that they can bring to bear. And for them, this is all about dollars and cents. They're going to invest in defeating this kind of legislation, just as they did in 2021, just as they have in state legislatures around the country. Nothing new here. So we're prepared for a fight, and I can't promise you that we'll win it, but we have people on our side. And that's the reason why I think this uphill fight could well be successful. And let me just also stress again, there should be nothing partisan about this issue. I think what's different is that the level of outrage has mounted. The focus has been clear and explicit. We have a lot of great advocates who are here today, others around the country, colleagues who have joined this battle on both sides of the aisle. And I'm very hopeful that this picture is worth 1,000 of my words, this picture of people who are actually affected. And I'm willing to bet that the people in this room outnumber the number of people who benefit, the owners of that land, the hedge fund folks. That may be somewhat an exaggeration, but there are a lot more mobile homeowners than there are hedge fund participants. And I don't mean just hedge funds, investment companies, real estate magnates, whatever.
Better than 50-50 that this passes? Is that rule?
50.
Is it better than a 50-50 chance that this passes?
You know, I never, it may come as a surprise to you, but I never say I'm confident about anything in the United States Senate. Never. So, and in the world.
If I may, Senator.
Go ahead, Dave.
Those of you who are residents out there, rookie. Those of you who are residents, you know, the senator mentioned outrage. I think there's a lot of people across Connecticut. I know some communities, but on Saturday I was at a Michigan-owned corporation in Wyndham. We had 40 or 50 people in an initial meeting on a rainy Saturday who were outraged enough to come out to an alliance, to a Connecticut Manufactured Homeowners Alliance. So I would encourage you to get online, look up, find the Connecticut Manufactured Homeowners Alliance so that we can update you about what's happening, and you can write letters to your senators and your representatives for future legislative solutions to our problems. But that's what will get the attention of your government. You have to be active. You can't be complacent. The park owners count on you being disinterested, non-motivated, and complacent. That's not going to work to get the problem solved long term.
I just want to remind you all that you're paying property taxes, and as a group in aggregate, you're paying a lot of property taxes. That means that as taxpayers, you got as much heft as the mobile park owners, because we got property owners and property owners. So that's something that you need to make sure that your representatives understand, that you're not coming for a handout, but that you're coming as property owners vested in your community. And that's going to really help your argument in the future with everybody. Because they always say, you know, money talks. Your property taxes, that's money that talks to your legislatures. So I just kind of wanted to throw that out so you remember we can have rhetoric, but at the end of the day, you're paying a huge amount in property taxes that's going into your local communities. It's help funding the schools, picking up the trash, and making those community work. So your representatives have a vested interest in you being in your mobile homes because you're helping pay the freight that makes the community work. And if you remember that, it's going to give you strength going forward.
Right. Well, it is unfair. It's unfair, and in my view, it's un-American. You know, the reason why we all have votes is because we all ought to be equal. And unfortunately, our United States Supreme Court, a number of years ago, issued an opinion, the Citizens United case, in effect saying that most of the limits on campaign contributions violate the First Amendment. I disagree with the opinion and the ruling, but it's there. And so candidates for office, I'll just be really honest with you, I just went through an election. And I saw it up close and personal. And I guarantee you, none of those folks were contributing to me, because I'd been out there with you all, promising that I was going to work with you and advocate for you. And these folks here are taking the same stand for you. But the good thing is that we're going to continue working and fighting for you and convincing our colleagues that they ought to be listening to you, not the hedge fund people or the real estate companies, and that those campaign contributions just aren't going to make a difference. Well, I think I understand your concern, and frankly, I'm sympathetic to it. There are really a couple of concerns. Number one, you say they'll find a way around it. That's where enforcement comes in. We can't allow them to find a way around it in terms of the notice. But the notice isn't a solution in the long run, because if we don't have controls on how much they can raise the rent,
How much control can you have over their greed?
and we can't do that at the federal level. We can't impose rent control at the federal level. It could be done at the local level. New York has rent control. I'm not here to advocate rent control. But a year or some long period of time does give people at least some time
To sell your home.
to sell or to make some other adjustment. You know,
Things that, you know, the people that are renting, or not renting, I would say renting, the people who are in these communities right now, you know, they are on fixed incomes.
and in the long run, the solution is more housing, to reduce rents, more affordable housing, more access to affordable housing, lower rents, not necessarily rent control. I'm not here to advocate rent control,
Right.
but enforcement of these laws, if we can pass them, which gives people some more time to seek other options.
And that's appreciated. I'm just.
And by the way, as you know, people have to go through rent increases every day, unfortunately, and that's why I say in the long run, we need more housing. And again, the state is moving in that direction, perhaps, you know, with more modest steps than some would like. Yes, sir. Well, very well said. You know, I don't want anyone to be under any illusions. I'm here about the Mobile Home Owners Bill of Rights, but it's far from a solution to many of those problems. At the same time as I'm fighting for this measure, I'm also fighting to lower the cost of pharmaceutical drugs. A lot of people are paying double, triple what they did just a few years ago, whether it's for insulin or any of the drugs that we have to take just to stay alive, trying to make choices between those pharmaceutical drugs, putting food on the table, paying rent, lower costs of health care, and also Social Security. You know, there's some folks who say, let's lower Social Security payments. I say just the opposite. We need to raise Social Security benefits and make sure that it's solvent in 10, 20 years. Working on that issue. So you're right to raise all those concerns, and well-founded. And at the end of the day, this country has to look to how it treats folks as they get older. And I'm not just talking 55 or 65, you know, older in the sense of people who've worked all their lives. And, you know, the inequities, the wealth inequities and the income inequities, the disparities, the differences are growing more than any other time in our history. And the middle class in this country has built the country, and we got to maintain the middle class. So I don't want to go on too long. Dave?
Senator, nice to see you. Yeah, I want you to hear from Lori and Art.
Okay.
But I just want to point out that I can provide to you testimony on the state bill we just got passed from representatives of the Connecticut manufacturer, the park owners.
Okay.
That the average rent in Connecticut is $465 a month. I believe that. That's not what it is in some communities or any other out-of-state parks. And Art and Lori are going to tell you about some people who already have to move on.
First of all, nothing against you personally, but this country is giving away billions of dollars every day to people that don't belong in this country. And you're telling us you can't give us some kind of cheap housing? I mean, what's right with this? You've got to take care of the people that put the money in. We put this money in for 40 years. And some guys get free medical, I got to get co-payments. I got to pay for a phone, they get free phone, they get free rent. What kind of justice is this?
You're asking,
Yeah.
you mean, you're talking about immigrants?
Yeah, I'm just talking about everybody's getting free stuff except the people that paid for it.
Well, I think there's some question about, I'm not sure what you mean.
What do you mean?
People giving away,
Yeah, free house, free food, free phone, free medical. We don't get that.
well, they don't get all that either.
They don't.
No.
We're,
No, I mean, we can talk back and forth at each other, but let's talk about the real facts. They don't get free phones, free food, free medical. They come across the border, and they have to go through a process, and many are deported. Folks don't realize it. Some stay in this country because the asylum process, the judges have to decide whether they have a valid claim, but they don't get free food or housing. They often disappear. That's a problem. I've advocated better border security, faster asylum decisions so they don't go off into the country. We need to provide a path to stay in this country for people who are actually persecuted. That's what the law says. The system has to be, in my view, totally revamped. It's a broken system right now.
well, we also want some free stuff raised for us. We paid for this all our lives.
Well, that's the point I was making earlier. We need to lower the cost of pharmaceutical drugs, provide more housing. All of those needs have to be met. I'm here where we have common ground. And there may be bigger needs. I'd be happy to talk to you more about it. Can't solve it all with Tenants' Bill of Rights.
Thank you for that question. So I'm Valerie DiPaolo on the Southington Town Council. I know we've seen a lot of you at the meetings. Councilor Chris Palmeri is here, and we're very supportive of the laws at the local level. We appreciate the state reps that are here. We appreciate Senator Blumenthal and all that he's doing. The Fair Rent Commission, we did move that pretty rapidly through the town council, and I worked on that with a Republican council member, so it is a bipartisan situation. That is a situation for rent increases, and there are provisions in place. So if you are having difficulty with that at the local level, please contact myself, Councilor Palmeri.
Information,
Well,
to be able to prove that it was not fair and equitable what they did, and I can, because I've already gathered quite a bit of the money, so I just need a little bit more.
And-
You said taxes, we're also paying Sun's property taxes, by the way.
Right.
My $600 a month rent is paying the property taxes, because I went to town hall and found out what the taxes were, and believe me, we're paying them for
Right.
them.
And I can help with the documentation, I can help at least look at it with you and make sure that you have what they're looking for. I can give you some guidance.
You might be able to help.
Yes, we may be able to help you with that. So I don't want you to feel that Fair Rent Commission is so important to our town.
And we want to utilize
I want to make sure that, we're using that.
Sheriffs to issue, that all takes money, and of course, we don't have an association, so
Yeah.
I thought maybe Senator could steer me towards a legal aid
Yep.
that might be able to help us.
We can try to. Joe Rodriguez, who is here, raise your hand, Joe. I'm grateful he's here because he's been with me at the previous meetings as well. And we will arrange for me to come back. I promised you I would be back. I'm back now. I'm going to be back. We'll organize another meeting where we can talk some more about these issues, whether they're directly related to the Tenants' Bill of Rights or other issues. You know, happy to talk about all of them. And in the meantime, Joe is going to get your personal information where we can get back in touch with you and maybe talk to the Fair Rent Commission. You know, I think the Fair Rent Commission may be a real source of help here. You know, well, just so everybody understands, I help a lot of people who don't vote for me. I'm not asking for a show of hands here, but it does not include Sun community. And these folks, I don't want to speak for them, but I am confident as a Connecticut person that they're going to be fighting for you, that they're going to try to help you, not Sun communities. You know, we have to respect the law. We can't just, you know, do things that are illegal, nor do you want us to.
Well, I'm just pushing the bipartisan. It should be bipartisan because it's all good.
I'm going to pass it over to Dave.
Senator's on a tight schedule. I can put you in touch with Joe Rodriguez, and we can put you in touch with the town councilman.
We're going to come back.
Local issues. But thank you, Senator.
Thank you. And I'll see you all before the Apple Fest, but I'll be in the parade again.
It's important.
Hey, Joe, thank you. Thank you. Yeah.